What Miller wants is the same thing that the mustache guy wanted back in Germany in the 1930s. That's what he wants. Only people with this color skin in this country.
Folks like Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, and Pam Bondi and others are showing us that they don't believe in the co-equal branches of government or the checks and balances within our society.
In this new explosive report from the Wall Street Journal, it cites a number of White House colleagues of Miller's who are becoming increasingly alarmed at the legal maneuvers he is taking to conduct mass deportation efforts. And Donald Trump himself, according to the Journal, has even ribbed Miller for being, quote, too happy when deporting undocumented migrants from America.
The crazy part is everybody knew this man was a white Christian nationalist, and you let him in. He's even more far right and more far white than Donald Trump.
I heard what Stephen Miller said, and I had to run that back. Like, did he really say that? This man really out here talking about how America should only have 100 million people, and they should all look like him. You already know what that means. He ain't even trying to hide it no more. And the crazy part is, stuff like this used to be said behind closed doors. Now, since Trump came back around, they just letting it fly. No filter. It's wild, but it's not surprising. Every day, it's something new with these folks.
We have some big news right now. According to the Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump previously said that if it was up to Stephen Miller, his White House deputy chief of staff, there would only be 100 million people in the United States of America, and they would all look like Miller. Miller is a white guy. In this new explosive report from the Wall Street Journal, it cites a number of White House colleagues of Miller's who are becoming increasingly alarmed at the legal maneuvers he is taking to conduct mass deportation efforts. And Donald Trump himself, according to the Journal, has even ribbed Miller for being, quote, too happy when deporting undocumented migrants from America. But I want you to read this passage with me. He has the president's complete trust. Trump's complained about everyone, never him. Trump may not complain about Mr. Miller, but he does occasionally poke at his obsession with immigrants, a hostility that goes far beyond Mr. Trump's. In one meeting during the 2024 campaign, Trump said that if it was up to Miller, there would be only 100 million people in this country, and they would all look like Miller. This is the man Trump is putting in responsible for most of the policy in America.
I'm a man of faith, Stephen, and I'm certainly not a man of fear. So let's just cut to the chase. Let's not get it twisted. Your administration, this administration, and the people who support it are making history on changing who we are as a multicultural society. Folks like Stephen Miller, Pete Hegseth, and Pam Bondi and others are showing us that they don't believe in the co-equal branches of government or the checks and balances within our society. And the people in the White House, in your little bubbles, you actually think that the aura of your chaos is sustainable. Think about it. Think about it. I want you to think about it. I mean, Trump is 80 years old, and you are in your mid-40s, and some of y'all are in your mid-50s. Y'all actually think, and that's young in the modern era, but you actually think it's funny and entertaining for Fox News and other outlets to show how cruel you are, how incendiary you are to the American people. Oh yeah, let's just stick it to the libs. Okay, but think about the sustainability and all the wrongdoing that you're inflicting on the people. And you think that you're going to get away with this? I mean, in life, you always pay the piper, homie. Our history or the world history has shown this time and time and time again. You will not get away with what you're doing. The international community are watching us. Our kids are learning from us as the world look on and discuss. My message is this. Enjoy it now, Stephen Miller, because just as history has shown, a reckoning is coming and America is waking up. Okay? And when they do, look out, partner. Last time I checked, you're definitely not Donald Trump's age. You always remember, truth has no party. Be well.
Look, anyone who didn't know before, you know now. Stephen Miller is a dangerous, unhinged man who is dictating most of the policy in this country right now. The Wall Street Journal just did a report today that says Trump in private has said that if it was up to Stephen Miller, there would only be 100 million Americans in this country. Just let that sink in. There's actually, right now, about 350 million Americans. So Stephen Miller, if he had it his way, would get rid of 250 million Americans because they don't look exactly like him. Why is anyone voting Republican still? Like, what could you possibly support about this? I mean, okay, just take that on its face for a minute. Where are you going to put 250 million people? Most of them, you know, American citizens born in America. Where does he want to send them to? What Miller wants is the same thing that the mustache guy wanted back in Germany in the 1930s. That's what he wants. Only people with this color skin in this country. That's what he wants.
So Stephen Miller only wants white people in America. Are we shocked? The crazy part is everybody knew this man was a white Christian nationalist, and you let him in. He's even more far right and more far white than Donald Trump. Trump even recognized his obsession when it came to immigrants. Stephen Miller said if it was up to him, only 100 million people would be in the country. That is only white people. White people only. Yeah, Project 2025 is looking real fucking real now, ain't it? I wonder who's really running the White House now. Because Trump said that he wasn't going to with farms and hotel workers, but he's in that ass now. And I don't think it was him. For once, I didn't even think it was him. For all you non-white people that voted for Trump, how do you feel now that they're trying to ethically cleanse us out of the United States? I mean, it's going to be real hard to get rid of black folks because, you know, African Americans in particular, because we ain't got nowhere to go but here. But for everybody else, how the do y'all feel now?
I'm probably going to get canceled for saying this, but I actually agree with Stephen Miller. We should stop asylum seekers from coming to the United States because they're obviously a danger. And ironically enough, Stephen Miller is living proof of that. Like the majority of people in the United States, Stephen's family history has an immigration story. And guess what they had to come here for? Seeking refuge and asylum. You can't make this shit up. You see, Stephen is Jewish, and his great-grandfather left Belarus because he was fleeing anti-Jewish pogroms at the time. He entered through Ellis Island with apparently only $8 in his pocket, didn't speak a word of English, and eventually settled in Pennsylvania, only to have his great-grandson shut the doors on people seeking asylum and refuge today. And with a history like that, Stephen, it begs the question, what was your villain origin story? Your hairline started to recede and then you figured human rights should follow suit? I mean, or did you one day read Mein Kampf and you were like, you know what? This guy makes a couple of good points here. Who knows? But I do know one thing. You are not the descendant of survivors. You're actually a mutation. You didn't inherit their resilience. You inherited the evil of the people who used to hunt them down. And the irony that they came here fleeing monsters only for their great-grandson to become one. You're not a legacy of their survival. You're a curse to their memory, if I'm being completely honest. And you're a cautionary tale of what happens when people forget where they came from.
You ever wonder what happens when a high school troll grows up and gets access to federal power? You get Stephen Miller. And this man didn't just whisper in Trump's ear. He wrote the whole damn playbook. Stephen Miller isn't just some advisor. He's the author behind Trump's most cruel, racist, and authoritarian politics. And he did it quietly, in a suit, all while pretending that it was about national security. You remember the Muslim ban? That was Miller. Family separation at the border? That was Miller. Trying to strip citizenship from immigrants legally living here? Yep, Miller. He's the reason zero tolerance became a government slogan. The man crafted policy like it was fan fiction for fascists. And you want to talk about connections? Stephen Miller was mentored by Richard Spencer, the actual white nationalist who coined the term alt-right. They went to Duke together, and Miller invited him to campus. Let that sink in. The dude writing U.S. immigration policy was once boosted by a literal neo-Nazi. And don't think he disappeared when Trump left the first time. He started a legal group called America First Legal, designed to sue the government every single time it tried to be decent. Trying to stop DEI programs? That's Miller. Attacking asylum protections? That's Miller. Lawsuits to block civil rights policies under the radar? Also Miller. And the scariest part is that he's not a loudmouth. He's a strategist. He's not tweeting insults. He's writing executive orders. He learned that power isn't about being liked. It's about embedding your ideology so deep within the system that even after you're gone, your fingerprints stay on the walls. Stephen Miller doesn't just advise Trump. He built a machine, one fueled by fear, whiteness, and legal loopholes. And it's still running. It's just a little quieter now. So we all know the bigotry has definitely resurfaced. We can see that in the court dockets, the school bans, And the borders. Stephen Miller never left. He just sharpened his horns and put on a nicer tie.
So, do y'all see how ridiculous Stephen Miller sounds? This man is out here talking about how America should only have 100 million people, and they should all look like him. Like, what? First of all, who even says stuff like that out loud unless they really believe it deep down? He's basically saying, if you don't look white like me, you don't belong here. That's not policy. That's white nationalism. That's textbook racism dressed up like it's about numbers and culture. Let's call it what it is. Discrimination, plain and simple. And the hypocrisy? Man, it's wild. Stephen Miller's own family came to this country as immigrants. His ancestors were Jewish refugees, escaping persecution and violence. They were welcomed into America with the hope of starting a better life, the exact same reason most immigrants come here today. But now that he's here, now that he's sitting comfortably in a position of power, he wants to slam the door shut. He wants to act like the system that helped his family survive shouldn't help anybody else. Matter of fact, his uncle, David Glosser, even wrote a whole piece calling Stephen out, saying, if my nephew's policies were in place back then, our family would have been wiped out. That tells you everything you need to know. He's not trying to make America better. He's trying to make America whiter. And that's not about patriotism. That's about fear. That's about power. Look, I'm not shocked. These folks have been saying the quiet part out loud for a while now. Trump opened the floodgates, and now people like Stephen Miller are just saying whatever hateful, twisted thing comes to mind, and they're doing it proudly. And the worst part is, people like him have influence. They write policies, they push laws, they sit at tables where real decisions get made. That's why this matters. We can't just brush it off and say, oh, it's just talk. No, that talk turns into action. That talk leads to detention centers, family separations, travel bans, and communities living in fear. That talk has consequences. And as a Black person in this country, I see the pattern. When they talk about making America great again or safe again, we already know what that really means. It means going back to a time when people who looked like us had fewer rights, less power, and no voice. That's what they're trying to recreate. A version of America where they're in control and the rest of us are either silent, invisible, or gone. But nope, we're not going for that. We're here, we've been here, and we're not going anywhere. This country was built off our backs. We are America. Our stories, our cultures, our struggles, they're not something to be erased. They're something to be respected. And I know some folks watching might think, well, Stephen Miller is just one guy. But let me be real with you. It's not just him. It's a whole movement, a mindset that's been around since this country began. He's just bold enough to say it on camera now. That's why we gotta speak up. That's why videos like this matter. Because if we stay quiet, that ignorance spreads. But if we speak the truth, we give people the power to see through the lies. So if you're watching this, and this made you feel something, whether you're angry, frustrated, hurt, or even just confused, don't just scroll past, drop a comment. Let's talk about it. Because at the end of the day, Stephen Miller can say what he wants, but we're not going to let him or anyone like him define what America should look like. America is diverse. America is complicated. And America doesn't belong to one race, one religion, or one type of person. It belongs to all of us. So let's keep pushing. Keep calling it out, keep showing up, and if you rock with this message, go ahead and like this video, share it, and hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, we've got a lot more to talk about. I appreciate y'all for watching, for listening, and for thinking critically. I'll see you in the next one.